Baseball is a team sport. Rarely can you pin the loss on one single person. That's true if the Guardians lost in Chicago to start a critical series of the White Sox, but this one squarely on the hands of Stephen Vogt in the front office. We'll tell you why on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into another episode of Locked On Guardians. It'll be another therapy episode of Locked On Guardians because that's where we're at these days with the Guardians. And this is your only daily Cleveland Guardians podcast that shows up every single day, no matter what the team is doing, how much they make us mad, and the stupid things they do. Because we cover the team from every day, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. On today's show, Jeff, we will get into a little more draft-focused stuff if time allows, because the College World Series is over, so we're full head of steam into the draft. We'll get into Game 2 of the White Sox series. We'll talk about some minor league issues that we got injuries, guys being reassigned. But we're starting off the show with the Guardians battling in Chicago, and a game they should have won. There's no question. They should have won this game after the way they battled back. Today's episode, by the way, is brought to you by our friends at Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter. They get decisions right, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try it for free today at odoo.com/lockdown. That's odoo.com, odoo.com/lockdown. That is Jeff Ellis on the other side of the microphone and camera. He's been the host of this show for 8 years. I'm Justin Lada. I've been here for 4 years with Jeff, and we've both been covering the Guardians minor league system of the draft for the last 19 years. And boy, rarely am I as frustrated about a loss than this one. And normally I say, Jeff, players got to play and they got to execute, but I don't think
Which
the Guardians,
they do. I mean, they also biffed this game too. Like it falls on everyone equally, in my opinion.
It does, but there is a degree here where I think you can clearly see why management in the front office cost in this game. Let's just start out the front. I don't think Cade Smith should have been out there for a 6-out save in this situation, and they could have had Randall Grichuk for free, not free, but he was on waivers for the league minimum. The Yankees were paying him $2.5 million, and all you had to do was pay him league minimum, and the Yankees were paying him the rest of the $2.5 million. After they cut him after a week? I think he was in with the Yankees for like a week or two.
Yeah, but at that point they wouldn't have been in the thing to take him, right? Like, because White Sox get first chance because it's order of team.
Well, no, nobody signed him. He cleared waivers.
That's right, he did clear waivers.
The White Sox signed him to a minor league deal. They brought him up, and instead, I mean, Grichuk they could have had in spring training. Honestly, he signed for $1 million more than Rhys Hoskins, but I mean, $2.5 million for Grichuk made a lot more sense than Hoskins, and much better than Stuart Fairchild being on this team. So bad bullpen decisions and defense, of course, and trying to go with platoons with players that are just square pegs and round holes when you had a guy like Grichuk who has clear what he can do. Like everyone's so mad about platooning, but platooning, we've talked about multiple times. Platooning can work if you have the right pieces. But this team doesn't have a Rayburn or a Geyer. They don't. Like Fry is not that guy. Stuart Fairchild's not that guy. Randall Grichuk could have been that guy. I know everyone's going to say, well, hindsight's 2020. No, you and I looked at the data from last year, and he got unlucky, and he's been pretty good throughout his career at hitting the ball hard, pulling it in the air. He's an okay defender. He's got a great arm. He's always hit lefties, and he was an outfielder. He could have fit on this team. They chose Rhys Hoskins, who was also kind of a square peg in a round hole because he walks occasionally. You have other guys in the team who can walk, Jeff. You just need a guy who can actually do his job as a platoon hitter.
Well, I'd say this, like Hoskins had, like in fairness to them, like Hoskins had the better performance.
But they didn't need a first baseman.
I know, but if they were just looking for the best possible hitter at the time, like I don't think you could say looking at those two players, if you just want to add the guy who is most likely to make an impact as a hitter, in general, it was Hoskins. So like I understood that logic. I throughout the winter was very much like I like the idea of Grichuk, but like it was kind of spoke to the level of if you're gonna get Hoskins, then we spent so much time on Hoskins yesterday. It's like he has to
got
be
a hit today.
Yeah, but then he also had, essentially cost them a run immediately after that. So he
I
giveth
can't
and
believe
taketh
that wasn't
away.
an error. I can't
And
believe that wasn't
then,
an error.
I mean, I even thought on the double to lead off that inning that, like, if Manzardo was in there's a chance he knocks that ball down. It's just Hoskins cannot move, and Manzardo's currently hurt, so that's what he's got some back tightness. So that's part of the issue with him. But then he comes up, and Sir Anthony Dominguez can't find the zone to save his life. He's got a 3-1 count or something, 3-2, 3-2, and 3 pitches in a row. Like, your skill is walking. This guy can't find the zone. You swing, like, he's trying to do too much. And instead of bases loaded with nobody out, you get first and second with 1 out, which, I mean, that changes things a bunch right there. And we talked about it's probably time to say goodbye to Rhys Hoskins. Today, he did nothing. I don't care if he had the single, because he did enough other things.
He drove in a run.
But it doesn't matter, because then he also cost him a run, and then he had a terrible at bat when they needed it the most. Like,
yeah,
nothing he did is a net positive enough to say keep that guy. Grichuk is a guy that, like, when he was cut by the Yankees, I remember bringing up on the show, like, hey, maybe it's someone Cleveland should check out. And a lot of people are like, no, if the Yankees cut him, he must be cooked. And he came in and he had a big home run, and that's the thing, to switch gears.
Tim Herrin, who hasn't been reliable.
Yeah, Tim Herrin. So one of the problems today, and so that's, I guess, where the front office failure comes, is missing on Grichuk. But, like, to me, this is more on Vogt. And I got to roll you back to just bring up this point. So Cade Smith, his last 3 outings, Vogt has asked him to go more than in 1 inning. This entire month, he's asked him to do it 4 out of 6 times. Before the month of June, and the whole rest of the season before then, he had asked him to do it twice. He's trying to get too much out of Cade here. You got to trust someone in your pen. I know Holderman has had 2 shaky outings his last 2 times out, and you're counting on him. I know Gaddis has had some issues as well. You can't keep asking Cade to go out there and do this. And then the other thing with Cade, I'll say, is, like, since they've asked him to do this, all 3 outings that this happened in, like, so he walked 1 runner, 2 runners, 1 runner. He has been walking. He walked one batter in May. He has walked 4 batters in his last 3 outings since they've asked him to do multiple innings. Like, it's not working. And we talked about this with him last year when they tried to do it. They're like, this does not work for Cade Smith. It is not successful. It is not something that he does well. He needs to go out there and throw and just kind of have that 1 inning. This start and stop seems to affect him negatively. You can go back and search through our archives and find the one we talked about. But in the month of May, he walked 1 batter. He walked 3 batters in April. So if you combine April and May, that's as many batters as he's walked so far in these last 3 outings since they asked him to go more than 1 inning. That is where your manager is failing. He's asking a pitcher to do something that he just doesn't. I mean, Cade Smith is fantastic. He is one of the best relievers in baseball. But he needs to go out there. Yeah, he needs to go out there for 1 inning. This is not fair to him, and it's not fair to the team, because then you know what happens? You send him back out, he starts walking guys. And, he picks up the loss today because of that. And then you send down Tim Herrin, who you mentioned, who hasn't been good. And we've been saying that for a while. And Tim was on the show. We're big believers in Tim.
Great dude.
He's a great dude. He has not been the same dude the last 2 years. At the end of last year, he seemed to turn around for them. But the unfortunate thing is, because he had 1 good month last year, like, Vogt keeps treating like this is the version of him from 2 years ago. It just hasn't been. And sending him out when they sent him out was so silly, because they're going to pull Benintendi. Benintendi's been more or less a platoon guy with Grichuk. So by sending out Herrin, you're going to face Grichuk, and he promptly hits a home run off. So in that case, don't give him anything to pitch. Pitch around him. Tell him to give him the old unintentional.
Right. And he will chase.
He will chase. And Thielen Montgomery really struggled today after him. So it's like, okay. And then once those 2 guys are done, if Grichuk's at first and you get out Thielen, you get out Montgomery, which he did do, then you can go switch and get a new reliever. Go get someone else to get Chase Meteroth, who's a righty. Like, there's ways to handle it. And this was not a good use of the bullpen. Going to Herrin was not good. Armstrong was fine. Listen, he did his job. Rhys Hoskins hosed him. I think multiple times in that one. And then asking Cade to do too much. Like, a 6-out save was ridiculous. So I have some real issues there. And as you pointed out, it's like, I don't know why David Fry is hitting second. I know Manzardo doesn't hit lefties well, and he's hurt, but he still ended up with an RBI and a walk in this one. He made contact.
Fine. His numbers against lefties this year are good.
Good point. I know he's hurt, is maybe what I should have said, is the qualifier. So maybe you consider moving him down. But it's like, you can't keep putting Fry up here because it's not working. Yeah. And I felt like it was poor roster construction, terrible bullpen use. It was just a bad job by Vogt in general in this one.
All right, I got a few things to say about Cade Smith. We got to talk about Gavin Williams. We'll talk about the guys who did do well. The offense, they battled back. Credit to them for a tough game. So we got all that to come up. We got to talk about some minor league stuff going on, guys clearing waivers, guys who are hurt. And then we've got a couple draft things we want to get to. And I know we want to talk about game 2 of the series. So we are far from done on this episode of Locked On Guardians. We are right in the heat of summer, and you want those really good sweet flavors. I'm on vacation right now, and honestly, I have everything I could want at my disposal for food, but I need a lot of energy on this trip, and I don't need to be racking up the calories, but I want something sweet. 5-hour energy cotton candy shots. They bring back that nostalgic flavor of cotton candy. It tastes like summer, and it's the classic taste you remember with a tasty caffeine boost. 0 sugar, so no guilt. Easy way to satisfy your sweet tooth, get some energy. Keep things simple on the go. I love the taste of cotton candy. I don't love the texture of it. So honestly, 5-hour energy shots of cotton candy is perfect for me. It's sweet. I like the taste. I don't have to worry about the texture. I get energy, no sugar, no guilt, and I need it on this vacation. So I don't rack up the calories and I get some energy from something sweet. Bring on the sweetness with cotton candy. 5-hour energy shots available now online to order at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon.
ED is more common than most guys think, and millions of men deal with it at some point. HIMS offers a simple, convenient way to take care of your health by connecting you with a licensed healthcare providers online and giving you access to personalized treatment options from the comfort of home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process to make getting care easier. Take care of yourself. Taking care of yourself shouldn't feel complicated, and HIMS makes that process private and easy to navigate. It's healthcare built around you and your schedule and your comfort. I can't make fun of the Guardians today, nor can I bring out the rally dyno to talk about with this one because the offense did enough. And while there was a rally, it ended up being complete. So if we're going to talk about some big sticks, how about Oklahoma in the College World Series tonight? What a big stick performance. 12 runs in a deciding game. That is massive sticks. They got to use. They do not need any help or enhancement. University of North Carolina maybe does. It was a weak game for them. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/LockedOnMLB. That's hims.com/LockedOnMLB. For your free online visit, hims.com/LockedOnMLB. Prescription is required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is a generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris.
If you want more Cleveland Guardians discussion beyond the show, if you want to subject yourself to that at this moment, you can do that. And it's by going to the Everydayer Club because it gets you access to the private listener group chat on Discord with other listeners of the show, fans of the Guardians, other shows as well, their hosts, their fans, and you get ad-free episodes of each audio show. And you can check that out at lockedonguardians.supercast.com. or you can go to the link in your show notes. All right, so you said something about Cade Smith earlier that I want to at least give him a little, not benefit of the doubt, but just kind of like roll this into the. I think the walks, yes, I agree with you on the multi-inning usage thing. Like, I also kind of get Vogt's positioning on like a 4-out save because you're trying to win these games because your offense is missing some key pieces and you're trying to, grab the wins wherever you can. So I get that. I think some of Cade Smith's control issues, at least recently, yes, and I think there's a possibility that, the multi-inning stuff is a factor, but he's also been working very infrequently. Like they've had not a lot of wins for him to protect. I had someone text me today and was like, why is Cade Smith pitching here? I was like, because he didn't pitch since last Thursday in Milwaukee. Like he didn't pitch over the weekend in Houston because they had two losses and a 1 blowout win. So like his work has been very infrequent. So I would say that probably has something to do with some of the control issues lately because the offense can't score to give them a lead. And when they have been winning, it's been by, multiple runs sometimes, which is, strange. But so I do think that's a little piece of it there. But I agree with your overall point on not asking him to do so many multi-inning saves. I do think I always say it's on players, but I think Vogt is in a hard place as well, because this team hasn't had a lot of opportunities for wins because they're struggling, and it's not really a surprise they're struggling. It's tough on everybody. I mean, we're all frustrated, but I'm sure they're doubly frustrated because they know they're, playing each game with a arm and a leg tied behind their back, essentially, with as far as offense is concerned. So
you got to trust someone else in the pen, though. Like he trusts Herrin, and he's trusting Festa, and I'm the biggest Festa supporter there is, but it's like, you're trusting Herrin and Festa in these high leverage. Again, I know Holderman's had some struggles of late. I know Gaddis has had his moments too, but it's like, you gotta,
those guys have
you gotta go to,
at least.
Yeah, you gotta go to someone. You can't keep being like, okay, we're gonna count on Cade to do this, because like I said, we did a whole episode last year about the fact that Cade Smith,
Cade's fried for tomorrow. He can't pitch tomorrow.
No, and it's like I said, we did a whole episode where it's just like, hey, Cade Smith is not good in these multi-inning things. Like, we know this is a fact. We have just discussed it on the show previously. We've gone through this, so it's just like, you got to expand a little. You got to trust you got to open that circle of trust.
Yeah, as much as I hate to say it, but the guys are the guys. I mean, maybe that was a good shot to go to Espino in something high leverage. You know what I mean? Or like Sabrowski.
Get Sabrowski off the snide.
Yeah, or Franco Alamon could be a guy up here. People keep asking me, what did Franco Alamon do to not be on this roster? And I said, I don't know. I Festa, he keeps calling it this fireman pivot role, and we didn't talk about it yesterday, but I wanted to. I don't really love Festa in that role. To me, Festa is like Jeff Manship back in the day in 2016. Like, if the team was down by like a run or two in the 6th inning and the starter was gone, that's the guy you went to, not the guy with runners on and you're winning or tied.
Yeah.
That wasn't that same situation. So very bizarre. If you were to give Gavin Williams a grade for this start, what would you give him? Because I say he gets a C+, because his outing wasn't bad. If you look at the final line, like, he struck out 8, he only gave 2 runs, and the White Sox, were pests, making him work, which, I'll tip my cap. The White Sox lineup is pesky, and they're talented. So it's a fun little group right now, and they're having fun, and they're young, and they don't know any better. So this is the honeymoon phase for them. But, as far as being the guy, and I said yesterday, Jeff, I was going to be a little unfair to Gavin Williams. I said, I expect you to go out there, and you haven't pitched well lately. You're supposed to be I don't know if I call him the ace, but you're supposed to be one of the leaders of the staff. And he hasn't pitched well lately. And I said, you're going to have to go out there and pitch and make 1 or 2 runs hold up. And I guess he technically didn't make 2 runs hold up, but he didn't get deep into the game. And I wonder, if he gets deeper into the game, you don't need Cade Smith in the 8th inning, possibly. Depends on what happens. But, Gavin,
you didn't need him in the 8th inning to begin with. Like, that's not on Gavin. That's on a poor choice.
I think I don't disagree with using Cade in the 8th inning, because the guy needs work. Like I just said, he hasn't pitched much lately. And you're trying to keep it a 1-run game. I know. So I'm not against that.
Because if they don't tie it up, there is no 9th. But then that means you go to someone else in the 9th. You don't.
Right. You should have, for sure.
Yeah.
Or you could have, I don't know. Well, we also didn't point this out either. Like, Cade Smith, the double off of Tristan Peters' bat was a check swing, expected batting average of 180 double. And yes, he walked a batter and he gave up a good hit. But that excuse me double, really hurt him too. So it's just a lot of stupid things had to go this way to lose this game. That's why I said it's just bad decision making, bad luck. Yeah, and nothing on the offense. Yes, the offense didn't do great against Anthony Kay, but they hit Grant Taylor, who has been their best reliever this year, and then they made sure they got runs off of Sir Anthony Dominguez. Something you have to do because the guy stunk lately. But what grade would you give Gavin? Because I think he was fine, but I don't think he did his job overall. I think he needed to do better.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I think he did his job. I think it's a solid B because he didn't go. He struck out 8.
5 innings.
Yeah, 5 innings
from Gavin Williams. I can't take.
So, are you gonna let me explain it? So the reason he only allowed 6 base runners in 5 innings. Like that's that works. That is successful. It was a lot of pitches, but he went 5 innings. He gave up 2 runs. He only, he gave up, like I said, those 2 runs. It's a fine performance. He did okay overall.
It's not even a quality start. It's not even a quality start.
I don't care about a quality start. I mean, it was enough. It was a B. If you give me 5 innings of 2 earned runs, you strike out 8 and you allow 6 base runners, that's a B. The problem here is not Gavin Williams. The problem here is You bring in Herrin, he gives up a home run immediately to Grichuk. There's, Rhys Hoskins can't play first base when Armstrong's pitching. And I'm sorry, Cade Smith, it is a poor performance. Like, we can't make apologies. Braden Montgomery is a guy who expands, a guy who has a terrible walk rate. He has not walked in the big leagues. He has always been a bit of a hacker. You have to at least make the pitches close, though. Like, he was in there against Montgomery. And I do think, like, he does not come in well after that. And the pitch that he walked on was close. The rest of them weren't. Like, he basically threw away the second and third pitches. His splitter wasn't going well there. And Gavin was fine. He wasn't the issue. And then it was also weird, like that pitch to Tristan Peters. Like, why is he throwing a slider? We haven't really seen a slider all year. This isn't the time to experiment. Don't throw a slider in that situation.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I disagree about Cade Smith, Gavin Williams, and we will talk a little bit of offense, but we'll also get into some minor matters, and we have to get into a little bit of draft stuff in game 2 of this series. So that is still to come. Running a business, you need to have all the stuff connecting. That's exactly what we've been talking about all show long, right? When things are designed to work together, they work better, much better for you. You don't want to have one app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of it all works together, right? That is where you need something like Odoo. Odoo is an all-in business management platform, software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. Sales, accounting, inventory, marketing, everything is working for you in one place. Helps your team move faster, stay organized, focused on growing the business, instead of managing individual pieces and parts. Boy, the Guardians could do that right now. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone work towards the same goal. And as we can see, very true in sports, just like in business. The Guardians certainly could have made better decisions. They could have probably had things come together a little bit better for them in Chicago. Certainly overall this season with decision-making way back to spring training. So those adjustments need to be needed here, and great organizations win because they know operations matter. That is why you should go get Odoo. Try it for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Do all the good things with the show. Hit the bell on YouTube and subscribe so you get notified of reaction videos to games, news, mailbag question, and all that and more. And auto download on all your favorite audio platforms that you're listening on so the show stays in your feed. And maybe you're frustrated and you don't want to listen the day after a frustrating loss, and you want to wait to come back to that. But if you download it, you don't listen, it still helps us anyway if you even want to skip one. All right, Jeff, did you want to close anything out on the last conversation, or do you want me to come back with you're on mute, so I'm just going to keep talking. I suppose you want me to.
I just think that, like I said, I feel like if with Gavin Williams, like if any of our other pitchers had that started, we'd say that they did a great job. They would be up for a player of the game. And Gavin Williams isn't an ace. Like, that's kind of, I guess, what I've talked about all year. I'm going to evaluate him based on what he is. And you go and you look at a Savant page, like he's a good pitcher. He's not a great pitcher. And that's so I'm evaluating him on the same grade scale that I evaluate everyone else on. It's like, he gets hit hard. That is part of what you're going to experience with him. And that was what we saw in this one. When they made contact, he gave up a double. He gave up, I guess only the one double, but it's like, that can happen. He can get a bit wild, but I'm very happy to see the one walk. For me in particular, with some of his struggles, I'm happy to see just the one walk.
So you're right, I think, in that if we graded this as like a Slade Ciccone start, we'd say it's great.
Or Tanner Bybee or anyone outside of maybe Parker Messick.
I would say it's not great for them either. Tanner, I think, has
5 innings, 2 runs. I mean, you were saying Tanner's was fine over the weekend, and it was 5 2/3 and 3 runs.
Well, that's all. I didn't agree with. It's all also because I didn't agree with him being pulled for Altuve at that point. I think he could have gotten Altuve. That's a whole different episode. Here's the issue I have with Gavin and giving him a lower grade. We talked about how Gavin's never going to sign an extension. He's not going to stay, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see how that affects one game score, then.
No, but if he's the kind of pitcher who said he's a Boris client and they're going to have to trade him eventually, and he's not going to stay with Cleveland, you know what? You got to pitch like the guy that deserves that kind of treatment. But he didn't in this game.
And that's just Boris clients. Like that's just any Boris client.
He doesn't matter. You have to earn that contract. You have to earn that kind of.
And he did 5 innings, 2 earned runs. Any team is going to be happy with that.
No,
I think every team is happy with that.
But I think we expect better. I would expect better from Tanner too.
I don't expect better. 5 runs, 2 runs in 5 innings.
All right, let us know in the comments who you agree with.
That's a fantastic start by any pitcher.
Man, I mean, this is a discussion for another day as far as how that looks. But I think a quality start. I mean, if he went 6 innings and 3 runs, would I get 3 runs instead of 2? Would I give him a better grade? I just want at least one more inning. Maybe I'm pedantic about 1 inning, but whatever. I expect.
Believe it's like about 5 innings is the average for a starter anymore. Like we've just seen that.
Not for a great starter, and if he wants to be
5.25 innings is the average.
He wants to be the Boris client that doesn't sign deals, and
I don't think that's like you're kind of making this seem nefarious. He chose Boris as an agent because Boris gets guys paid, and Boris discourages.
Yeah, well, if he wants to get paid like that kind of guy, then he should pitch like it. And teams aren't paying guys that. Teams aren't paying guys like that if they can only.
He was far from the issue in this. He was far.
No. I'm not saying he was
far from any issue.
And I told you, Jeff, I told you on Monday I was going to be unfair with him because they needed this win, and they needed a performance that was going to make a low offensive total.
And he gave him that chance. It was Vogt in the misusing.
He did,
of the bullpen.
but one more inning I think makes a little bit of a difference here.
It doesn't, because Vogt's still going to go too early to Cade. If the score is tied, because. The reason he went to Cade in the 8th is because he couldn't guarantee.
Multiple things can be true at once, Jeff.
No, because here's what's going to happen. No matter what, he was going to go to Cade in the 8th because Cade hadn't pitched and Cade needed a pitch.
Yes.
Then he would keep him in there in the 9th. So it doesn't matter if Gavin goes 5, 6, or 7. Cade was going to pitch in the 8th inning no matter what because of where the score was.
I know. So again, both things can be true at once. Here,
but that doesn't affect the outcome.
Yes, Vogt can still be wrong for using him again in the 9th inning with the lead, and I could still say Gavin Williams should have done better. Both those things can be true.
No, I think you're way off base on this one. I think you're way off base on this one.
And the Cade Smith thing again, like just a little bit of bad luck. And I don't think he was terrible. I think he did his job in the 8th inning. He was great. A little bit of bad luck. So the walk and the
walk guys who never walk.
Yeah. So the offense, they didn't do great against Anthony Kay, but again, they strung together some hits. Some bad wild pitches helped him out, but the offense again did enough to win this game on their merits. So it's a tough loss.
Bazana, hell of a hustle play in this one, going first to third on the wild pitch. I mean, he reached base 3 times.
He was stealing,
yeah. But I mean, still, it's like he was off, and then to just keep going, to have the hustle to keep going.
Cleo Watson with his first career hit in a big spot.
Rocchio with a 3-hit game. I would have loved to have seen him come up, but earlier in the game with an opportunity. And then Patrick Bailey, pinch hitting coming in.
Yeah, and he scored the go-ahead run.
Yeah,
he should have been the winning run.
Yeah, and he knocked in the tying run with the hit.
Schneeman had a pinch hit off the bench that was really good, and Stephen Kwan had 2 walks off the bench.
They had more base runners. Like Cleveland had a lot more base runners in this game because the White Sox didn't walk. They should have won this game, but
and Gabriel Arias stunk up the joint. Stuart Fairchild, not good. Petey Halpin stunk up the joint offensively. Yeah. Like this is this is how bad it's gotten. They're platooning Stephen Kwan, and they're willingly playing Petey Halpin for defense against the lefty and playing Stuart Fairchild. And 7, 8, 9 in your order just is absolutely, a dead weight. And Gabriel Arias having a platinum sombrero, and that was just embarrassing. I don't care who you are. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, it was not a good performance. But I mean,
no.
That was the problem. Halpin, Fairchild, and Arias were, I think I said, 0 for 11 with 8 strikeouts.
Yeah, Manzardo barely, qualifies as a decent game because he did draw a walk and he did drive in the sac fly that should have won the game. Yeah. So he salvaged that one. And then we talked about Hoskins. So just overall, like a couple guys did the heavy lifting and the lineup's still in a really rough place.
Bazana is the Guardians' best hitter. They need to figure out that extension during the All-Star break, like use what's out there with everyone else, get that done.
Yeah.
And then the thing is just, again, big congratulations to Cleo Watson. It was a huge hit in this game. It changed where the game's outcome was.
Gotta be tough to get your first career hit as a pinch hitter, by the way. Like it's been hard enough for him as it is. Being asked to go up there in a huge spot and go get your first career hit in a huge spot in a game, that takes some stones. So, we've been hard on him, and he's, well, not hard, but I think we've been fair, and this is kind of what we expected, but that's a huge spot to come through in. Real quickly, so a couple minor notes we didn't get to yesterday. George Valera cleared waivers. He's going to AAA again in Columbus. we're not shocked by that. I know everyone was like, why did they DFA Valera? Well, 29 other teams didn't think he was worth claiming for, for basically the league minimum off waivers.
Yeah.
That tells
even
you exactly
as a 40, they didn't want to give up a 40-man spot for him.
Yeah, right. That tells you exactly
because he could go to AAA.
Yeah. So yeah, he had the option. So that tells you where things are at on George Valera. And then, so speaking of pedantic, so Khal Stephen is having elbow surgery. He hasn't pitched in a few weeks because he left to start after one inning a few weeks ago, and he's been on the injured list with some elbow issues. And I read a tweet a little too fast, and I connected some dots. So we had heard from a friend of the show that Khal Stephen was headed for, unfortunately, Tommy John. Can't say it was confirmed or not. That's what we had heard. And then I saw the tweet on Sunday that James Harris talked to Cleveland media and said he was undergoing elbow surgery and that they were going to let Dr. Keith Meister, who is a specialist in Tommy John surgeries, determine the scope. And I said, Guardians confirmed that Khal Stephen's having Tommy John. And I got a slightly strong worded message from the organization asking where I got that information from. And I had to admit that I read the tweet a little too fast, so I just assumed they were saying Tommy John because that's what we had heard. That's what Dr. Meister does, and that is the issue with Khal Stephen is the elbow issue. So, you could see how I got from one rock to the other.
That's very fair.
On that one.
I mean, he's the Tommy John doctor. Like when anyone goes to him, it's mostly always but so, everyone, they send everyone to him for everything. And so I'll say on that side of it too. So it's not like they're doing something weird by sending an elbow guy there. Like they send every.
So for what it's worth, I did read the tweet too fast about what Harris said to the team. So the Guardians didn't confirm Tommy John. They confirmed elbow surgery. We'll see what that ends up being. We think it's going to be Tommy John, but the Guardians, the wording was the issue. It's the Guardians didn't confirm it. They confirmed an elbow procedure. So
it'll be.
That's a blow for. We'll talk about this more because we don't have the time today. But that's a big blow for Stephen, his career, because if he has Tommy John, if it is Tommy John, he's going to miss the rest of this year. He's probably going to miss a lot of time next year, and there's a good chance that he doesn't come back till 2028. And if it's on the longer end, so maybe they'll get lucky, and it will be just the Tarek Skubal, elbow cleanup. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll bear watching. It's unfortunate. Like he had been a disappointing pitcher this year, if we're being real honest. Like
probably because he had elbow problems.
Yeah, and maybe because of this, it was basically what I was gonna get to. But yeah, that's it. And again, with Valera, we wish him well. He's a great kid, but like there's been issues with that swing for a while.
Yes.
So and the defense is atrocious. So those are both there. I know we're running. Well, I mean, we had 3 ads, so we have time.
6 minutes,
we'll save to the future some of the discussion about like pitching depth overall and the Stephen situation, because I'm actually feeling okay about pitching depth and starting pitching depth and system for when the inevitable injury happens, and we'll discuss that later on. I do have to say, looking into tomorrow's game, one of the things we have to talk about though is Grant Taylor and I want to say Brian Hudson, but I don't think that's it is Brian Hudson, are their 2 best relievers for the Chicago White Sox. And part of me really wanted this game to go into extras because they went into extras yesterday, and Taylor, Hudson, and Dominguez all pitched yesterday, and maybe Murphy did too. I gotta look at this. Who came in and got those last 2 outs. So
Murphy did not pitch yesterday.
Okay, I'm sorry, he did not. That is my fault. But the other 3 all did. So, first off, we talked about how Anthony Kay has been complete dog water this year by advanced stats. Now he has a 4.24 ERA after this game. So like his non-advanced stats show he's okay. But yeah, the advanced stats say he's terrible, and he went 6 innings and of course didn't give up a run. But then the guys who are good, like Taylor, gives up 3, and Dominguez is a whole side story. But Taylor is one of the best relievers in the American League Central this year, and all-star. Yeah, he's a potential all-star, and of course that's the guy they get to because baseball makes perfect sense. But they're going to be down all 3 of those arms tomorrow, and tomorrow is the Fetty game, or is tomorrow the
Burke? Who's been pretty solid. He's been pretty solid.
He's I mean, his FIP is a little higher than his ERA. There's some things.
He gives up a lot of home runs. That's his big issue. He has a high home run rate. So hopefully Bazzana, Manzardo can all get after him. Maybe Rokia,
and their pen is not. It's top heavy. So Cleveland has the ability to hopefully get into the pen a little bit with Burke. And it sets them up to be in an advantageous place tomorrow in terms of matchups. But they got 5 runs across today, and they played the game well. And okay, so
they tied the game against the best reliever the White Sox have.
And I already complained about Hoskins. Arias, it was an embarrassment, and I'll say that as someone who has defended him in the past. That was an embarrassing game. He is caught in between. Everything I said about Watson, that was him today. Or he's just missing in the zone as well. Like Arias needs to take his bat off his shoulder or at points. But the offense stepped up. The guys you want to see, the central figures, the 3 pillars of this offense, if everyone heard, are Bazzano, Rocchio, and Mansardo, and they each contributed. And that's how you get a game that you should have won. So hopefully we'll see them bounce back tomorrow. I still like those 3, and everything I said yesterday about liking to see Engel and Huff up sooner and later, I will still stand right behind right now.
Yeah, there's other guys too. We can discuss other guys coming up too, because I think there's at least room to discuss what short term. Can I walk you off with a stat real quick that Zach Meisel Zach Meisel tweeted 5 strikeout games in a 9-inning game in Cleveland history that Gabriel Arias joined. Larry Doby did that once, so pretty good career there. Rick Manning, we know how that career ended. He did it once. Jim Thome, we know how that career ended, so pretty good for him. The other one that on that list that's weird is Daniel Johnson. Not really shocked by that, but I had high hopes for Johnson the way I had high hopes
as well.
for
that was a swing and miss by me, was Daniel Johnson.
Yeah, same here. But what's funny is that with Doby, Manning, Thome, and Johnson, the Guardians won all those games. This is the first game where they had a player in the lineup strike out 5 times, and they lost. So
they shouldn't have lost, though.
They should not have lost. So what a weird stat. All right, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about more stuff. Hopefully the Guardians get a 6-inning start from Parker Messick, so I can say it's a good start. And Cade Smith won't be able to pitch, so Vogt will have to trust somebody else.
Gotta have to trust someone.
And maybe we puts up 5 more runs.
Everyone's gonna love how much I interrupt today, so I'm gonna apologize for that now.
I don't care.
Maybe give Espino that opportunity. I'm just saying, could be.
I would
nice.
love
it.
Fun. I would love it.
Thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. Auto subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Comment below. Since we had a fun, spicy debate, let us know who's out of line, who is right. Thank you all, and go.
You're out of order.
Go. I'm always out of order. This whole court's out of order.
You can't handle